Welcome to Strength Rituals. In this episode, we'll see what the correct use of the word extreme is, a little yoga history, no, he was straight up pissed off, and how to build your own oldie-time barbell.
Don't be afraid to drop it.
Wait! There's some stuff in this episode that, if I know you, you're going to see it and go, I want to try that. And far be it from me to tell you, don't try this at home. Go ahead, but please, 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 please consult an expert before you do. I've been in this game for 20 years and I'm still trying to figure it out. Consult an expert before you attempt anything you see in this upcoming episode. Thanks. Now this first segment is about some strength going on in the Midwest. Extreme, an utterly hyperbolic word in the fitness industry, along with insane and hardcore. Really? Only in rare cases might us mere mortals actually witness the true meaning of extreme. I decided to examine an event that could, more than most, live up to that hype. Where does one go to explore extreme? How about what might be called the extreme Midwest, somewhere between Cincinnati and Cleveland, more commonly known as Columbus, Ohio. Probably not everyone's first choice. Hey, that's weightlifter and writer The Mighty Cat, who joined me on this quest, and she's giving you a big clue why we're here. The Arnold Sports Festival, named after a former governor of California, who was also a barbarian and a school teacher. And at some point before that, he was the most influential bodybuilder ever. Although this festival started as a bodybuilding contest in 1989, it is now, well, a bit more. At the Arnold, there are a bunch of folks vying for various titles and medals, from weightlifting to gymnastics to fencing, powerlifting, and of course, the famous pageantry of bodybuilding. If you look around a bit, you'll see quite a few claims that at least hint at being extreme. Extreme dieting and supplement use to achieve an extreme aesthetic may be the most recognized idea of what the Arnold is, but that doesn't interest me. I'm here for a specific reason.
Deny, deny, deny.
These guys.
Deny, deny, deny. The bitter spitting poison.
See, I'm interested in strength, real strength, not some proposed illusion of it. And although there are several sports to choose from here that display it, the one I find to be the biggest example of extreme is this. The Arnold Strongman Classic now rivals the bodybuilding contest as the biggest event here, at least in terms of spectators. Former powerlifting champion Jan Todd, who helps run the event with her husband Terry every year, has some insight to its growing popularity.
You know, there's maybe a line from T.S. Eliot about he talks about what he calls the fascination of that which is difficult. I mean, it's obviously physical, but I think it's also an attitude, and I think that the more you're into strength, the more you realize that it allows you to do more things and sort of opens other possibilities for you.
Watch you while you dream.
Strength as a spectacle can therefore be strength as inspiration. You can witness that possibility to do more and be more. Be more for these guys, though, means be a lot more. The size of the crowd rivals the bodybuilding shows, but the size of the competitors makes this the pound-for-pound largest event here, and possibly anywhere. pick that up later with some history behind the events. But first, let's talk about hybrids. That concept where you take two things, mix them together, and get a third thing? Popular these days with cars and roses and genetic mutation. It's nothing new in exercise, yet people are still really surprised when we don't fit our movements into the traditional categories, when weight training isn't in this box and cardiovascular training isn't over here in this drawer and flexibility isn't over here somewhere. But the body doesn't move that way. It just wants to do stuff. Let's start this hybrid by mixing a pair of movements. The first is borrowed directly from a yoga mat near you, called a Virabhadra, the Warrior 3 pose. The second move is a hybrid in itself, a modern version of an old dance warm-up now called the Cossack squat. So our hybrid concept here begins by letting these two moves flow together, extending the body and pivoting on one leg from the warrior pose, then flowing into a deep but tall pair of Cossack squats. Yes, your tush, hammies, and quads are all going to get a fair share of the workload here, but so do the very important postural and stabilizing muscles. So imagine what happens when we bring this into the weight room. Now we're adding a bit more intensity through weight, in this case a kettlebell. See how the Virabhadrasana starts looking more like a single leg deadlift. Less yoga-y and more, I don't know, pick your hyperbole. Hardcore? Extreme? This is where intense mobility training starts to look like intense weight training. You're in the gym, where you chew on raw steel, you sweat tiger's blood, and you can crap out a planet. Your horsepower, chili peppers, and testosterone, not Greenpeace and yoga mats and chaturangas. Well, call the Warrior 3 pose a single leg good morning, and you have no fears of anyone accusing you of doing something so unmeatheadish as yoga. But please, practice good technique and just do it right. Just do it. This stone weighs a tad under 300 pounds. Which means it actually weighs about 200 pounds. But that's a lot for me. This stone right here weighs, get this, 535 pounds. That's like this one, the actual 300, plus the 200, plus 6 or 7 of these guys. Stones. You don't find an older benchmark for strength than these. Throughout history and throughout the world, stones have been thrown, picked up, or carried to assess some level of physical capability. Modern strongman stone lifting has roots in Northern Europe. As the man in the kilt, historian and head Arnold Strongman judge David Webster will explain.
Through the centuries and so on, and still known today, they had what they call the Clachcud fir, which means the stone of strength, and they've got the manhood stones. And the manhood stone is when a young man thought I'm now a man, you know. Okay, prove it. There's the stones, and if you could lift this stone onto the wall at waist height, you were a man.
He's so massive through those hips and that upper back.
The oldest known Scottish testing stone is in Glen Lyon and was used to challenge potential members of an elite army to fight off Roman invasion.
Bulgakis was an ancient Celtic chief, and he fought against the Roman armies there. But he found his elite warriors by 2 tests of strength. They had to jump 2 kilt widths in height, which would take you to about 4 feet or 4'6", and you had to lift a stone onto a plinth. Now that stone is still there. If you come to Scotland, you're likely to go down to the Glen Lyon and try the Glen Lyon stone, which goes back to the Romans invading Scotland.
Hey, remember that Warrior 3 pose from the Movement Lab? Here's some interesting history about it. Shiva, supreme ruler of the universe, had a wife, Sati, who had a father, Daksha, who despised Shiva, hated him, loathed him, as father-in-laws are wont to do. Daksha held a party, by some accounts a ritual sacrifice, but there was fun to be had. He invited all of the other gods, but not the top dog Shiva or Sati, Daksha's own daughter. Surprisingly, Shiva understood. Oh, but Sati was incensed and showed up at the party in spite of her father. A very public argument ensued between father and daughter, much to the delight of the other guests. Embarrassed and enraged, Sati disowned her family, which apparently meant achieving enlightenment by meditating until bursting into flames, because that's what she did, right there on the spot. Now Shiva wasn't so understanding. No, he was straight up pissed off. He created a badass warrior by throwing a chunk of his hair to the ground and stomping on it. Yeah, I tried it. It didn't work. And up rose Virabhadra, who was told to go to the party and end it by killing everyone. Virabhadra makes quite an entrance at the party by rising from under the ground with a sword in each hand, the Warrior 1 pose. He then points a sword very decidedly at the party host, the soon-to-be former father-in-law, Warrior 2 pose, and then promptly lops off his head, Warrior 3 pose, thus ending the party and sending a very effective message to all the other gods in attendance, if they were still alive. Seeing the carnage made Shiva feel pretty bad, and he decided to give the story a happy ending by reanimating his father-in-law's body, but with a goat's head. Daksha, now humble and appreciative of Shiva's ultimately kind and forgiving nature, gives Shiva the title of Shankar, the benevolent one. I guess Huggy Bear was already taken. Wife was reborn, with a name change and a better set of parents, and the two again were happily married, now with the new dad's stamp of approval. This event is called the Circus Dumbbell. And it harkens back to the days when circuses roamed the earth. To have a circus back then, you needed a strongman. And to be a circus strongman, you'd better put on a show. Because you were the star. You probably had top billing over the trapeze act and even the elephant. Often more prop than training tool, more showy than heavy, the circus strongman would build intimidating toys, like some of these here at the Stark Center Archives, to hoist around on stage with them. This traditional equipment presentation plays a big role at the Arnold.
A little earlier in the 19th century, there was round globe-ended bells, which is why we like to use things like that, just because they look a little bit showier.
Make no mistake though, these are heavy. 9 years ago, this dumbbell weighed about 202 pounds, and not every competitor then could lift it. Each year, this beast gets heavier, although the goal remains the same. Each lifter has 90 seconds to get it from shoulder to overhead, now all 256 pounds of it, as many times as they can. One of the strongest lifters and greatest showmen in modern strongman events is Derek Poundstone. Here are his thoughts on the Arnold.
It really truly crowns this, I think, the strongest man on earth. We're all sort of forging the way ourselves. Every year the weights get heavier. No one else really wants to get in that discomfort zone. We do routinely.
Locked down!
it's what separates us from other athletes.
Here he is dominating the circus dumbbell, setting a world record at the 2010 Arnold Strongman Classic.
Again, here's a perspective check. This little toy I've made here is about 115 pounds currently. It's got a 2-inch diameter handle. 256 pounds would be this, plus these 25-pound plates. All
6 of them.
104. 6 of them. And a handle that's thicker than this water bottle. Heck, it's as thick as a Coke can.
So this contest highlights our physical culture past with creating the biggest, heaviest, and oddest versions of some strength tools. A great deal of the fitness industry boasts about being extreme or hardcore, but come on, that's commercial nonsense. On this stage, we witness true examples of extreme. And if we understand that the effort involved, not the weight lifted, is what makes success attainable, then we can learn and be inspired by their journeys. Yeah, you and I can't lift that much, but we can appreciate and learn from the effort. 1,000 pounds for them might be our 100 pounds, but the intensity and the passion to overcome very real physical obstacles, no matter how we compare to these guys, will positively affect our ability to conquer any obstacle. That's hardcore. And that's the inspiration we can garner from these examples of extreme. And for the record, it doesn't get more hardcore or extreme than these guys, yet they don't have to shout about it. I've met a lot of athletes, and these guys are among the most respectful and humble folks I've ever met. And a big thanks to Jan and Terry Todd.
We have stood on the broad shoulders of actual giants.
If you haven't been to the Stark Center for Physical Culture and Sports at UT Austin, make it a priority on your to-do list.
Very good.
I've been lurking around the fitness industrial complex for about 2 decades now, and during that time I've seen a lot of trends ebb and wane, from anti-gravitational treadmills to the ropeless jump rope to this thing. It gets a boy thinking. We should covet strength and build it like we have for decades, centuries, always. Strength training is not the stuff of Walter Benjamin allegory. Words like determination, courage, fortitude, these are not metaphorical. No, they have a very real, direct link between the physical and the metaphysical. Whether here, or here, conquering a big, scary challenge requires the same skill set. With the right training, why wouldn't this help us kick ass out there, in the real world, where the obstacles might not be as tactile, but they're just as tangible. The modern shiny gym programs and classes and gizmos can't replace the most basic dynamic. You versus gravity. And the #1 toy for the job, the granddaddy of all strength tools, the barbell. Although the modern barbell like this one and the ones you've probably played with at your gym have been around for about 90 years or so, there are older versions of many different varieties. So let's build one. Not a modern one, but an oldie time one, and we can pretend we're oldie time strong people. Our homemade one will be cheap, but more challenging to use. How? It'll be thicker, more of a grip challenge, and it won't roll like a modern one. Still plate loaded, but spend a few extra bucks on some good clamps and you'll secure the plates tight enough for the whole ensemble to feel like you're lifting an axle. I use this bar a lot, and thanks to my buddy Zach, we've got a handful of them here at Body Tribe. Easy to make. Get a 7-foot length of 2-inch galvanized pipe and a pair of what are called solid shaft collars, which are actually sized at 1.9375 inches. Measure in at about 15 inches, set the collars, locking them down with a simple Allen wrench, and you're ready to lift. The bar is light, only 20 pounds unloaded, but stronger than you'd think. Complete cost, about 30 bucks. There is a caveat, normal clips won't fit. Although some truly DIY folks use pinchy clamp thingies to lock the plates in place, I still recommend high quality 5-pound collars. Spend a little extra on them, especially if you want the non-rolling axle effect. And you do. How much weight can this handle? Let's find out. I've bent a couple modern bars on this very rack with under 1,000 pounds. Let's see if this cheap little project can do any better.
830. 920 pounds. That's 1,010 pounds.
And not a bend to be seen. If we could fit more weight on this bar, we could probably keep going. For most of us, this bar is going to work great.
Although it's a little harder to manage, treat it like you would any other barbell. And if you got the bumper plates on here, don't be afraid to drop it.
There it is. A classic, effective, and easy to make tool to connect you to a better you.